All right, so we've already broken down her physical capabilities, right? We know she's a biological apex predator, but that's just the starting line. Now we're going to dive into the really unpredictable stuff, the part you can't quantify. And honestly, the most dangerous part of her entire power set, the mystical vector. So let's really chew on this question for a second, because you have to understand this isn't some abstract thought experiment. This is the actual cosmic war that she is caught smack in the middle of. And to really get a handle on her power, we first have to understand the stakes of this fight for the very fabric of reality.
So, on one side of the board, you have the tyranny of the absolute. I want you to imagine a universe with no passion, no choice, no free will at all. A reality that's been solved like some cold, dead mathematical proof. That's the end goal for the first cosmic power we need to talk about.
And here he is, the mind behind that goal, Vril Dox. Now, he isn't driven by things we'd understand, like greed or power. No, he's a being of pure intellect who literally sees existence itself as a bug in the system, a flawed equation that he needs to fix. His goal isn't to rule the universe. It's to force his own perfect, logical order onto every single atom in it.
And this, well, this is the terrifying, logical conclusion of his philosophy. It's what he calls a perfect protocol. This thing, the blood sun, is the ultimate paradox. He used the raw DNA of pure chaos to build a weapon of absolute, mechanized order. A weapon designed for one purpose, to crush anything and everything that deviates from his perfect plan.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin completely. On the total opposite end of the spectrum, you find the tyranny of the relative. This is a universe where nothing is solid, nothing is true. Reality itself is just dissolved into a meaningless, disposable work of fiction. And this chaotic mess? It's the personal playground of the continuist. He's not really a being in the traditional sense. He's more of a process, the endless, contradictory rewriting of history itself. What he wants is something he calls ultimate pulp, a reality that has all the substance and meaning of a cheap, throwaway dime store novel. His main weapon is what we call narrative decay. See, he doesn't just destroy cities, he steals their cohesion. Imagine you wake up one morning and your city was founded by Vikings, but it was also built entirely out of clockwork, and it's also a post-apocalyptic ruin, all at the same time. He traps people in this waking dream of conflicting realities, making a shared history totally impossible. So you see the problem, right? This is the impossible choice at the very heart of this war. On one hand, you've got a sterile, frozen truth with zero freedom. On the other, you have an infinite pulp of lies where there's no truth to be found. It doesn't matter which one you pick, you end up with an existence that's completely meaningless. So at the end of the day, both of these paths just lead to oblivion. Vril Dox offers you oblivion by turning everything into a perfect, lifeless crystal. The continuist offers oblivion by dissolving everything into a meaningless swirl of stories that are constantly changing.
But what if that's a false choice? What if there's another option, a third path that just rejects the whole question entirely? Well, this is where she comes in. This is where her true power lies, and trust me, it changes the entire game.
You see, her home isn't some planet of cold logic or an endless, chaotic story. It's Arcadia, a liminal space, a twilight dimension. It's a place that's run by this chaotic, almost Dionysian will that loves to create and destroy truth. It's a reality where the fundamental laws of physics are just suggestions. Now, this deep, fundamental connection to Arcadia gives her something our analysis is calling Arcadian liminality. You can think of it like a cosmic home field advantage. All those logical traps and physical laws that a guy like Vril Dox depends on, they just don't work in a reality where truth itself can be made up and torn down on a whim. So her origin is her shield, but her weapon, her offensive power, that comes from something else entirely. It comes from a radical act of self-creation, staring down these cosmic forces that are trying to tell her what she is. So, you're faced with these two cosmic tyrannies, each trying to write your story for you. One wants to solve you like a math problem, the other wants to turn you into pulp fiction. What do? Well, she just rejects them both. Outright. She becomes the self-begotten, the one and only author of her own existence, and she's ready to write her own gospel. And this is where things get really wild. Because this self-begotten state isn't just a cool philosophical idea. It translates directly into a powerful battlefield-ready defense.
As you can see, it gives her causal resistance, which makes her basically immune to the narrative decay the continuist uses. It also acts as this super high-level psionic shield against reality warping attacks.
What this means is she becomes a walking contradiction. She literally cannot be solved by Vrildox's logic, and she can't be deleted by the continuist's narrative chaos. By taking all of her crazy, contradictory, manipulated histories and just embracing them as her truth, she makes herself immune to any single story they try to force on her.
This state of being, it all adds up to her ultimate tactical role. She doesn't just defend against these cosmic powers anymore. She starts weaponizing her own unpredictability, becoming a fundamental glitch in both of their systems.
Her power, the whole blood thing, it goes way beyond simple biology. It becomes a metaphysical statement, a gospel of blood. She embraces what she calls the beautiful, chaotic mud of her own being. She takes the very contradictions that were supposed to be her weakness and turns them into a power source that just completely defies the binary logical code of her enemies.
And this right here is probably the best analogy for her power. If the Blood Sun is a perfectly programmed tank built to crush things with absolute precision, she's a hurricane. You can't program a hurricane, you can't reason with it, and you can't even map its path because it rewrites the map as it goes.
And that's the thing you absolutely have to understand. She isn't just another piece on the chessboard in this cosmic war. She's not playing by the rules of order or chaos. Her very existence is a living glitch in the game's code, and it fundamentally breaks the perfect equation her enemies are trying to solve.
So it all comes down to this one final question. What happens to a perfect system when it comes across a variable it can't define and it can't delete? Her greatest strength isn't just surviving this war between absolute order and total chaos. It's her power to fundamentally break it. She is the impossible variable, and that makes her the ultimate threat to both sides.